Welcome, everyone, to the Next Best Picture podcast, where we are talking with Suki Waterhouse from
Hi,
Daisy Jones and the Six. Hi, Suki. Thank you so
how are
much
you
for
doing?
joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be talking to you. A lot of people I know have been obsessed with this show since it came out, and I'm one of them. um,
Oh,
I have to ask, this was a best-selling book prior to becoming this series. Did you read the book before you had heard about this project at all?
yeah. So I think I
Ah,
really started off as a Daisy Jones fan,
mhm,
really as a true fan. I read the book the summer before I even knew that there was going to be a TV show. And I remember it was one of those books where I couldn't, no one could speak to me, or I was I'm uncontactable for the next few days. And then
mhm.
I was one of those people that was just Googling, where is Daisy Jones now? What has happened with Daisy Jones and the
Oh,
Six?
yeah.
It was really I hadn't read a book like that put you so much in the world. I loved how there was I felt like I was so inside of everyone's perspectives as a group,
Mhm.
which is such a rare thing, to be so invested in every single member, and even the side characters,
Yeah.
even people that don't get a lot of airtime. You just felt like you knew that world so much. So I just could not
Mhm.
believe that they weren't a real band. I thought, wow, there's big gaps in my music knowledge, which I thought was pretty decent. But yeah, that's how I caught on as a fan. And then I remember going into my agent's office, and I saw they have a bunch of they have a big board, and they put stuff in felt tip pen, and they had a Daisy Jones and the Six board, and I was like, oh, okay, how are we gonna go around this? And yeah, it's not very often where I will be very very upset if we don't pursue this. And I went to I remember going to I went to my first audition with Kim and Justine, who I have a good relationship with, because they actually cast me in the Bad Batch years
Mm,
ago. They're such lovely casting
yeah.
directors. They really are. And I went in, and I think I auditioned for Daisy first, and then I auditioned for Karen, who they'd made English for
Mhm.
the TV show, which obviously was a great thing for me. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Which I was going to ask if you gravitated towards Karen immediately when you read it, or was this
obviously I
something that,
thought she was the coolest character,
I mean, she is, yeah.
I definitely thought she was the coolest character. I remember going to one of I did a bunch of auditions, and I remember one of the auditions that I did with Will. I think it was the final audition. Um, I think I was very worried about them not seeing me as a brunette, which
Mm,
they were very Karen has to be a brunette, and I was worried if they would kind of not see me as that type. So I dyed my hair brown, with a spray bottle before going in there.
oh
And I
no.
was working with where I did the scene with Will Harrison,
Mhm.
who played Graham, and he'd been cast before me. And Riley was in the room as well. So it was quite unusual to have kind of a bunch of two
Mhm.
of your contemporaries in the room with you. Um and yeah, and then yeah, anyway, this is a hair story. Then they ended up changing. They ended up not even wanting me to have brown hair in the end, because no one had blonde hair. But there was a lot of there was a lot of kind of touch and go in the
Mhm.
auditions. And I think when I got the part, I remember everyone was so excited to have got the part, but there was this really, we felt like we had the world on our shoulders, because it was made very clear to us, you're going to be in the audition, you're going to be in the studio for the next
Mhm.
4 months before we start shooting. And it was kind of felt like you better be able to do this music stuff. Like,
Yeah, for
wow.
anyone who
And it,
lied on their resume under the special
oh my God,
skills
all of
section,
us, of
you will be find
course.
out.
Well, it was more, it was the first, I mean, it was the first time for me, especially to do with an acting role where it was like, oh, you have this huge undertaking. And I said to them, I was like, the one thing I know I can do is like, I know I know I can just not do anything else and just focus on this, like nothing else, like not leave the house. It was like evening practice, like completely forget doing anything else. And like it was cool because if you do focus like that, I think it was a nice thing to be able to know for myself that I could go from really knowing like 5 chords to like playing like Bach pieces.
I mean, it's incredible. Like the whole cast basically went to band camp to learn
Mhm.
the instruments and the specific music for the show. You've worked as a recording artist before. Um, did you find this part easy or difficult, or were you
I
like,
think, yeah,
what
no,
was
sorry.
that process?
I think it became more than, I think the beautiful thing about it is it became more than a job. And especially as we worked on this for like 3 years, I remember watching the Joy Division movie
Yeah.
I know one of the producers and he was like, oh, you're gonna be so messed up by the end of this. Like when you do your last performance as a band. And I'm like, really? Because I remember he was saying that they were all sobbing, and that is how I felt by the end of it. It just like it became so much more than a job. I mean, we were doing it for years. Like we couldn't really remember like a time before, we went through a lot together as you do for
Mhm.
after 3 years. Like there's so much kind of like growing up and changes that happen in people's lives. Like when we look at pictures of us when we got cast now, we're like, oh, we look like a bunch of like puppies.
Well, they say it can change a person. Um, One of the most striking scenes on the show for me is when Karen tells Camilla, without saying a single word, that she's pregnant and unhappy about it. Um, I'm wondering what your thoughts were about this scene initially, especially having read the book,
Mm.
and how you and Camilla Moroni built that moment together, because it's so incredible, that communication that you two have.
Yeah, I mean, I think we became really good friends out of this show. And I feel like in a way actually that I probably hasn't been as strong before. I think
Mm,
uh yeah, I kind of feel like I have like a little bit of a big sister role in her life in a way. But and she also has she's also like she also just has actually like an incredibly strong and very strong, like she's incredibly strong woman. She's amusing, she's stubborn, like she has a lot of like Camilla qualities that I really admire.
mm,
um and we have, I think we've kind of like built this friendship in real life that feels like, yeah, we both kind of have qualities that each other like kind of lacks. I don't know,
mhm,
it's a really nice dynamic. So we had yeah, I think it was, so I think really that moment is built in kind of women's, like a kind of the intuition that women have with each other in those kinds of friendships. And and I love that moment because I love like the differences, like kind of I love how different all the women are in the show, and kind of like the
mhm,
respect and love that they have for each other. I mean, for Camilla, like she's so mother nature. She's, she always wanted to have, I don't know, she's just like very, she really eases into like that motherhood role, and
mhm,
she's like very happy for that to be like kind of like her, one of her key purposes in life. And for me, for Karen, it just feels so trapping for her. I think the idea of um kind of the idea of being a mother is, it feels, feels so trapping in the circumstances that she's in, where she has worked so hard to be at this point where she can be in a band. And I think Karen's like through line for me is that she always wanted to be in this band. She doesn't get off that bus in the end. It's her and Warren, like they, you know, she wanted to be making music for forever. So I kind of, I guess I thought about it, and I, you know, being like a woman around that age as well, where it's like you start to kind of feel that like pressure yourself. I also thought pretty hard about the fact that I kind of went back and forth, but I'm like, I don't know if Karen never wanted to have children. I just think that she didn't want to have to give up her position in this band at that time. So, you know, I also was like, you know, I looked at women like Stevie Nicks and Chrissy McVie, and like neither of them ever had children. And I don't know if it was, I think Stevie said it was a regret of hers, but it's not necessarily that they didn't want to have them. I think it's just, you know, you work so hard to build this life that you know, that you've built out of nothing. And I kind of I don't know, it's ongoing, this stuff, because like now I don't know, I like look at women in the music industry now, and you just think, like, you watch Rihanna at the Super Bowl, and, you know, it's like she's so, it's so celebrated, I guess, when you know, and I do think we have like a really different relationship to the idea of being a working woman and having children now. I think at least like kind of like in the way that people see it is, I guess, like much more kind of like empowering, whereas I think there was just so much more of like a societal choice that you had to make, or you felt you had to make back then. But the issue of like working and being a mother at the same time, it just never goes away for women. It's just going to be here all the time.
One of those eternal dilemmas.
Yeah.
Similarly to that one, there's another really striking wordless moment that you have with Will Harrison's Graham at that final concert, where you two are sort of like looking at each other across the whole giant stage. How did you find that how did you make that moment so intimate feeling when you're in this gigantic space and so far apart from each other?
Yeah, I think our relationship was like one of the, like that was like that was like such a special relationship for me to build on camera. I just felt so lucky to be able to work with him. This was Will's first job that he'd ever done.
Incredible.
He just came out of school. I think someone heard about him and he went in to see the casting directors and just booked it straight away. And now he's just been working nonstop. I just don't think he could have been cast any better. It was just such a, I could go on like Will Harrison, like love train. But I think like there were so many things like in my mind at that time. I kind of, when I thought about like Graham, like it's like he's like the sweet misogynist. Like he doesn't really like he's so heartbreaking and you want to love him so much. And especially like at, you know, in the 70s, he doesn't, there's no concept, like, and she's so angry with him too. I think she's so angry for him to suggest that she should leave the band and like give up anything. And also like throughout the show, it's like she, you know, she kind of always was very upfront about that, you know, that she didn't want this to be a serious thing. It's like classic thing when you're seeing somebody and they and you're like, I don't want this to be serious, and then it's like, no, it's serious. And then yeah, and I think she doesn't expect to fall really. I think she didn't expect to fall in love with him so much and be and you know that to be kind of like I think the love of the like kind of one of the loves of her life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a mix of that, yeah, frustration, and she's angry, but her heart is also completely wide open, and everything is also falling around her. And I think like for me, I felt like I was I was doing something for him that was greater than, like, if I would have stayed for him, I was kind of like I was setting him free, and I was like, yeah, I broke it apart because we both ultimately had to like live different lives.
Mhm. And it's so sad and so heartbreaking, but so beautiful too. um, we're we're coming up on all the time we have, so I wanted to do a few like quick like speed round
Oh
questions
God,
with you.
okay.
Okay. So favorite outfit that you wore?
Ooh, favorite outfit. Oh my God, there were so many. Just Denise
Yeah.
Wingate was literally the most incredible costume designer. It was beyond. I love, I actually love my final episode outfit. I was wearing like a black
Yes.
beaded top and the black trousers. I had a lot of like stunning jumpsuits. Okay, these aren't quick. I have a lot.
That's fine. Um, what was your favorite song to play in the band?
I think it was probably Let Me Down Easy.
Okay. And
Yeah.
your favorite song to listen to?
I'm such a River fan. I love the River.
Yes.
And that song actually came in later. That
Oh.
song was not, yeah, because we were making the record as we were like rehearsing. It was like
Mm.
the different songs would come along all the time, and then I think they dropped another one, and that one got written while we were kind of making the record, like quite late into the process, and it was like, whoa, okay, this suddenly became our favorite. It might just be like our favorite because we'd played all the other ones so much, and we were
Yeah.
going crazy at that point.
That can happen. Um, so in bands, in any groups larger than like three, little cliques form, right?
Mhm.
So who were the best friends of Daisy Jones and the Six?
I think me and Will,
Yeah.
we were like best friends. We would be like going off and like playing each other music, and like we would go and like find a little spot and watch a show together, and like we just, yeah, we were just, we kind of like had we formed a really nice relationship. So I think we were best friends. And then I think Riley and Sam are both incredibly goofy, and so like Sam is kind of like, very um kind of like together, sort of like Hugh Grant type. And then when it gets to like night shoots beyond 4 a.m., he has such a goofy, silly side. Like he's just got like the best energy to carry everyone forward. They were really they were like our very goofy, just wonderful leaders, Riley and Sam.
I love that too. And what was the most difficult scene to shoot?
Most difficult scene, well, they had me and Will go out into the sea, and there was like storms. We had to go back there
Oh
twice, and
no.
that was to do sort of like a flirting scene, and
Mhm.
it was so cold. I mean, it was so cold. I think most scenes usually in the water, like you film the sea and then you maybe go and do it in a pool, but this was out in in LA, and it was just so cold, and there was storms, and we sort of had to be brought in, and I was genuinely a little bit worried about Will. He was completely blue in the
Oh
face.
no.
I was up on the surfboard, and he was delivering his line so beautifully, but I was like, yeah, I was concerned. That was probably the most difficult.
And final question, will you surf again?
Will I surf again? Of
Yeah.
course, but not. I don't know about in LA, unless it. But I definitely will surf again. I'm an okay surfer.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, we did. Me and Will also did surfing lessons together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you learned a lot on this movie.
I learned a lot.
I love that.
I really expanded my skill set.
There you go. That's what it's all about. Suki Waterhouse, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a delight.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's lovely to speak to you.
Thanks. Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye.